Welcome back to the Beyond Belief series. And welcome back to the Fear to Freedom Project, where we are talking about taking a soulful look at the Bible. And we are so glad that you are here today with us. Thank you for showing up today. If this is your first time to the channel, welcome. And if you are a returning champion, thank you. This series is something we have never, ever done before. We're showing up to have a real conversation, unfiltered, about our divine connection outside of fear and outside of tradition. So today, my co host, Da'Vette, is going to be taking us into a deep shadow part of the book of Job. I can't wait to hear this. Job just isn't just a story of suffering, it's a reflection. So I want to invite you to ask yourself, how do you see yourself in this iconic story? Let's get after it. All right, Devette, welcome. Hello, sister. How
Well,
are you feeling today?
hello, I am fine. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing very well. I'm glad to see you here.
Yes,
Um, what you been doing since the last time we met, which was last Sunday?
which was last Sunday.
Yes.
Pondering and growing and evolving and just, showing up as light in all situations as much as I possibly can. And when I do not, I don't beat myself up. I just keep it moving.
Good. Yes. Good. I'm doing the same thing. I'm so glad to hear you say that. Don't beat yourself up. We shouldn't be beating ourselves up. Self love is the greatest love of all, everyone. So if you are not showing yourself some serious love, you need to start doing that by getting up in the morning and just going to the mirror and looking in it and just adoring yourself and
Yeah,
saying, I love you. You are the greatest.
yeah.
Yeah, just say
Yeah.
some really nice things to yourself, right?
Absolutely. I absolutely look yourself dead in the eyes and tell yourself that I love you today. And today we're going to have the greatest day ever. Whatever it is, you just, yourself, you need that love. You need that attention. You need that affection. Um, you know, going through this journey. And that's what it is. And talking about Job, that is exactly what Job illustrates to us in the esoteric value of the Bible. And so that story of Job is spoiler alert. The story of Job is you. You know.
Is us, huh?
Dun, dun,
I like that.
dun.
Dun dun dun. The story of Job is you.
The story of
So
Job is you.
well, I'm glad because every time I have heard about Job in the Bible, it's always been like he had some harsh stuff, happen to him. So I was like, and everybody talks about having the patience of Job. That's pretty much how I connect to Job.
Yeah,
When people are talking about
yeah,
patience, they would always say, you need to have the patience of Job. So
yeah.
Job had a lot going on and he apparently was patient and waiting on God. So that's, I can't wait to hear you
Yeah.
unpack some things. It's more than that, isn't it?
It's so much more than that. So much more than that linear thought about just having patience, buying your time. You know, it's about your own personal inward journey. You know,
Okay.
and so
Yes.
when we get into it, I. So can we just get into it?
Yes. You absolutely get right into it.
Let's
I'm
get
ready.
let's get right into this because the story of Job is actually the story of, let's just put Devet, because
Mhm.
I can only talk about me. And so we can overlap our stories upon Job's story because it's really about, esoterically, it's about your soul's journey into
Mhm.
the the carnal or the material world. It's about uh, God's divine oneness embedded in you, having an experience here in the earth realm. And having that experience here in the earth realm has made us forgotten who we really are. You know, who we truly know ourselves to be. And
Mhm.
that's what the story of Job is truly saying. So I can overlap my story, my friend. Can I? I'm going to just overlap my story with Job's story. And I want you to think about doing the same thing as I'm telling you my story and
Okay.
how they are very similar to Job's experience, because we all have this. So remember, in the Bible, everything is talking about you and different states of consciousness. And so Job is the man, you know. And so man in the Bible really means the the mind, the state of mind, the state of mind and the conditioning through the
Hmm.
3D experience and synthesizing it, the mind of, you know, the mind of man. That's what Job
Okay.
really represents, which is you and I. You know, our own experiences here in the earth realm. That's what it
Hmm.
is, our journey, our own soul's journey. So I got to take you back to 1999 for us to get into my Job, in my inner Job journey. Now let's just
Hmm.
say that my inner Job's journey, because that's really what it is. And so 1999, Deb, I was at the height of my career. Well, not the height, I was climbing. And I had just finished school. I had two children, a 12-year-old and a soon to be 4-year-old. I had a fine man. He was
I love that. We all deserve that one.
yes. And we have been together for 7 years. Now, here, Job, if we're looking at Job as an archetype of who we are, Job had a family. Job
Mhm.
in his hometown was a upright man, meaning that he saw himself in a different state of consciousness, that he believed himself to be a righteous man, to see himself rightly. That's what he represents. Well, that was how I was. I had a great job. I was the Southern Christian of all Southern Christians. You know, Sunday I was in church from God knows to God knows. You know, and I'm having this religious experience
Mhm.
as God. And it's okay that we do that. And so Job, that was also Job's experience. Job had a beautiful family. And I want you, if you go back and read Job for yourself, every number in Job has a corresponding meaning esoterically, but we're not going to go that far. Where we
Mhm.
want to go is we want to just look at the similarities on the surface of esoteric, you know, of the esoteric experience. And so
Mhm.
here Job is he has this family, he's at the top of his game, he's well respected. I felt the same way about me, well respected. I'm at the top of my game. It's 1999 and I'm turning 30. And I remember it was like a great birthday party my girlfriends gave me. I was probably drunk. Sorry, a little tipsy.
What you apologizing for?
I was very tipsy, and they gave me this birthday party in New Haven, Connecticut. But I was living in Charlotte. I probably came home hungover, but it was a great time. And went to church, prayed off the sin, just like Job did for his kids. You see the simulation. And so
Yeah.
Job would have these prayers, and you know, I'm just going to let y'all eavesdrop on my religious prayers. Uh, Lord, please keep Raffy clean. Lord, I got to tell my story because
Yeah, tell your story because this is honestly, this is everybody's story. We all have a story like this.
yeah,
However, you are having enough courage to show up and tell it live. And
Lord,
so,
keep
yes,
Rafi
yes, good for
clean.
you.
You know,
Keep Rappy clean.
that was my prayers. They were limited and they were fear based. And oh God, you know, if you give me this for this bill, or get me, you know, just having my religious type of prayers. And Job did too. So I want you also to eavesdrop on Job's prayers, because Job's prayers were these. He would say, God, I know that my children had birthday parties, and if they sinned, or if they, here is a sacrifice. But all of those things are states of consciousness. Remember
Mm-hmm,
now,
mm-hmm,
but we're not going
mm-hmm,
to get that far in. But those were his fears that he was praying for. One day, Job came out of prayer, and a servant. Now, servant, when it comes to the esoteric, servant
mm-hmm,
simply means the one who brings the message from the material realm.
mm,
Ah,
mm,
now remember, you're the servant because you're
mm-hmm,
every character in the Bible.
mm-hmm.
So, how did the servants bringing me this message? Okay, so here's the message to Job. Now, I don't know how they spoke, but I'm going to Tibetanize it all, you know. So his servant comes up to him, hey, we just got robbed. They they hit the security guards over the head, and they've taken everything. And Job was a very wealthy man, so that would have been a lot of what Job owned. So Job had all of these cattle, and so they hit his servants over the head, and they took all he had. Now, how does that go to Devet? Well, let me tell you. I had my birthday party. I gave my husband his birthday party in March, and my servant came in the form of a phone call on May 2nd. I had just dropped my girls off at, they went to this stump uh, concert by Kirk Franklin, and it was May 2nd, 1999. And I picked Rafi up, and I took Rafi to a friend's house.
Mm-hmm.
Picked up the girls, got them in the bathtub. We uh, ate and all, and I get a phone call, and it was to rush to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And I rushed to the hospital, and I see my mother-in-law and the cops and this doctor. They're coming toward me, and I can feel the heaviness of this, you know, even now. And they say to me that Rafi's gone,
Oh, wow.
and it had only been 45 minutes after I left him. So that was my beginning to turn inward. Job had this catastrophic robbery. Then his servant came back and said, hey, Job, sorry to tell you, but now your kids are all dead too. They were having a party, but something happened, and now they're gone. And here I am dealing with my Job moment, my going inward moment, which was a husband that died or was taken tragically away from us, and also having to deal 28 days later with my daughter having cancer.
Mm.
Job.
Wow.
So I can put my name in there, but it's not just me, it's your story. Your story may not have come through such a tragedy. Anybody's story could have come through anything. But it is the story about you being the centralized character, and you now having to go inward to find some answers that nothing outside externally can answer for you.
Mm.
And that's where we're going to go
Exactly.
next week. We're going to go
Yes.
next
Okay.
week into that external part of Job, because that deals with the limiting beliefs of Job. And how many
Mm.
of us have had limiting beliefs, and they come in the form of friends for Job. And I want to share with you all that I had that same limiting beliefs brought to me by friends too as I was going through. And a lot of us do. They don't believe. They don't believe our judgment. They don't trust that we can navigate what we're going through. A lot of times, if it's death, they don't want to talk about it. So these are similarities. Your story can be Job's story because everybody is Job. It is just the mind of man, and here our minds are, they are connected to, or it is connected to, I'm sorry, to the divine mind. And so this journey inward takes us to a place that right now we have to go inward and find some answers out about ourselves. And that's what Job's story is truly about. It's not anything about his, it is about his struggle, but it's more about his internal struggle, his internal beliefs about himself, how he felt truly about himself, and how that kept showing up until he had a friend that represents the spirit. And we'll get to that too.
Well, that's really interesting the way that you are framing Job's story. I definitely didn't, it wasn't taught to me that way. Again, it was only about having patience. And in my mind, during that time that I heard the story repeatedly, I just did not have the awareness to see it in that light. I only saw Job was getting beat up on, he lost his family, he lost everything. And it's
His
like,
wife cursed
okay,
him,
yes. And so then we had to
told him to
really,
curse God and die. Yeah,
so so that was pretty much the connection, is just to Job in that story, is to have that type of patience. And I'm going to be honest, hearing this story that way, I didn't want to have that type of patience. I did not look at Job as a model of someone that I wanted to model after. I did not. I looked at it as, I don't want to have that. I don't even want to go through what Job is going through. But listening to you frame it the way that you are, we all have Job moments. It's
yeah,
not even about that patience or anything like you're saying. It's
right.
about, yeah, looking internally at the struggle from a different point of view, a different perspective. And at least I think that's what I'm getting from
That's it.
it,
That is it.
from you.
It is. It is about Job, about Devette having the strength in the middle of the ugliest moments of their lives to alchemize that. Job is truly a book of alchemy because he
Mm,
goes on and he faces all of the ugliness, the 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 rigidity of his religion, the rigidity of his beliefs and how they limited him. And that we can say that. Tell me you haven't had a limiting belief.
yes.
Tell
I
me you
mean,
have not had
yeah.
a limiting thought about yourself. How many times through a struggle that we don't get to see our strength, but we comment on our weakness, you know? And that's what Job's story is really about. And that's what I meant last week when I mentioned, you go to a church that don't empower you to know who you truly are. You are the conqueror. You are really the one that's in the story. You have a responsibility. And that's what Job is talking about. Um, Further in we go, you'll see Job had to turn his thoughts around about his own self, and accept his version, or accept the version of him that God knew him to be whole,
I think
missing.
we all have gone to churches that have disempowered us. We didn't know that we were being disempowered.
No,
We did not.
especially me. I
Yeah,
drank
we
all of
didn't
the
know that we
Kool-Aid.
were being disempowered. We thought that and I can say that I felt empowered in different instances
Hmm.
through church and through my Christianity, or my Christian faith and walk, or whatever I can call it. But I did feel empowered at times, but I I have to be honest, it was disempowering to me. I feel that way now that I know, now that I'm more aware. But was it disempowerment? Was it the empowerment that I needed at that time? Was I prepared? Was I ready? God's timing is always perfect.
It is.
So to look at it from a different point of view, because everything is a win-win for us. Even if we feel disempowered at the time, it propelled me into being empowered or looking for that
Hmm.
empowerment somewhere else in another way. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, exactly. And that is the journey of Job. When he goes inward, he has to reframe it now. He has to see
Mm,
himself differently, uh, through the understanding of his limitations.
yeah.
You know, I had to see, I saw myself differently coming out of being a 30-year-old widow on the other
Mm,
side. But it didn't take 5 years. It took years for me to come out on the other side.
mhm,
You
mhm.
know, for me, and what I mean on the other side is to get to the door, get finally to the door, to open the door enough for me to trust my internal self, and understand that that is where God resides.
The whole trusting yourself.
The whole trusting yourself is
That
true.
that's a that's a whole episode though on its own, trusting yourself. Because if you think about it, we have been taught to trust outside of
Hmm.
ourselves,
Hmm.
not our internal self. We've been taught to trust the stories that we've heard in the Bible. We've been taught to trust the pastor,
Hmm.
the bishops, the
The
deacons,
government,
and the government, your school,
your
your
schooling,
community,
your parent. Yeah, yeah,
your
yeah.
parents. You've been taught to trust outside of yourself. Mostly, that I would say that's the way we've been cultivated. And then after you get to a certain age, it's like, no, you need to trust yourself, but you haven't been taught to trust yourself. And so lots of people, yeah, get to a point where they don't trust themselves. They start to, question themselves
Yeah, because we don't truly know how our own voice sound. So,
until
yeah, we're expecting this majestic voice to tell us, go this way.
that is very true though, Devette. That's true. I have to, yeah, I mean, since we're going there,
Let's go.
I think I used to try to listen for that as well. And all the time your higher self is talking to you.
Hmm.
You think that it's just you having a conversation in your head, but you're having a conversation with you.
Like the
So,
prayers, yeah, absolutely. Like those prayers of Job and mine, they were the limiting beliefs, and we didn't even know what we were praying to continue to
mhm,
see. And until you go inward to see, oh, wait a minute, I have responsibility over my words. I need to watch my words, meaning that I need to watch my thoughts now.
right.
So it's a different way of seeing Job, in a way that he represents you, he represents me. I mean, we could put the Wizard of Oz story right on top of Job's story,
Mhm.
could we not? You, Dorothy gets shaken up, taken away.
Mhm.
She had to go inward.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
we could look at so many different stories that represent that one story that represents us.
So then it's not really persecution, or we can look at it persecution versus purification.
And either way you
Because
look at it, you're going to get the same. You're going to get there. If you see it through persecution, okay. Did you
okay.
learn something through persecution? If you see it as purification, okay. Did you learn something through purification? How did you
Mhm.
evolve out of it? Are you stronger after this? Or do you have to repeat this lesson again? It's okay.
Mhm.
It is okay. Because Job has this God Job moment, and I had a Devet God moment. And when you've had a Deborah God moment. We've all had those moments where God sets us straight. puts people in our pathways to help us get to where we have to go.
Hmm. And I wanted to go back to when you said you had that prayer with God, and it was actually revealing the shadow parts of you. Do you think? When you were
Absolutely.
saying, "Oh God, please don't, don't let him stay clean,"
Let them stay clean. And so I'm dealing with his stuff and not seeing that, hey, now remember, you ran from New Haven because you were almost an alcoholic girl. Mm-mm.
Mm,
Take some responsibility for your own story, my love. you
mm,
know?
mhm,
So I could
mhm,
concentrate more on him and not on myself. Not that his tragedy was, I wanted it in my physical. I didn't know that.
mhm.
But though the tragedy happened, I am 20 plus years from it. And now I have evolved into a person that has owned her voice. But I have had to go through some things, just as Job did. Job had to lose a lot. I lost a lot. You probably have lost a lot. Many of us have had these Job stories. You know what, Deb? I want to hear from the people from the audience.
Well, you know what is just unfortunate is that because I am, using a new streaming platform, Riverside, we are not live on YouTube. Somebody just texted me and told me, so we are not live on YouTube. However, we are live on we can be heard on Spotify and
Yay.
Apple Music. But yeah, I am so sorry. The last moment I just decided not to switch to my old streaming platform and just keep you going because you were right in the middle of what you were talking about. So I know I am so
Technology,
sorry,
and I
but this
love it.
is being
It's okay.
it's being recorded, so we will people will be able to see it, but we are not live. But that's okay because
We are
what
live.
I wanted to do is to take a pause right here because this is where we would be reflecting and kind of taking some questions from the audience.
Yeah.
And so I am going to do the first journal prompt. And
Okay.
this is going to be very significant for me. I would love to answer this question. If you're not journaling, maybe think about grabbing a journal,
Hmm.
grabbing a pen, and writing at this moment. And you can answer this question wherever you are in the world. But is there a time in your life where you did not listen to your inner voice? Is there a time in your life when you did not listen to your inner voice? And what were the results? And so I'm going to dig right into this because there are many of times that I did not listen to my inner voice. We were just talking about
Yes.
not trusting the inner voice, not being taught that this is your voice. And when you hear it, like say this, it's you, it's your higher self, not having that information.
Hmm.
So, of course, whenever you heard that inner voice say, don't do this or this wouldn't be good, but you went on anyway. So, there are a number of times that I can say I did not listen.
Where
And
did it lead you to when you didn't listen, though?
it really actually led me to a little bit of self destruction. However, through that experience that was not palpable for me, it did not feel good.
Right?
It then helped me to move towards something that I did desire. It helped me to move further away from what I didn't, so what I did not desire. So not listening to my voice,
Helped you
it
to
helped me
listen
to
to you.
listen to my voice.
Helped you to listen to your voice.
It really did. So it's like, God's got this thing set up for us to win-win, but we don't really see it like that because if you look at it from a different perspective, then my not listening to my voice just allowed me to learn to listen to my voice and trust my voice even more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's right. It is, listen, this thing is set up as school. You cannot fail, even if you fail.
Yeah.
It's
I agree with that.
yeah, because that was an ugly moment, man. I beat myself up many years for if I would have changed this would have happened. If this would have died, and well, maybe if we would have gone to eat because he was hungry, and I'm trying to just redo or replay the scene or change it, but it could happen no other way than it did, and it was a very painful way. But out of that pain came the triumphant voice of Devette that spoke up for herself and thought that her no was just as important as her yes.
Hmm.
And that came from experience.
Hmm.
That's the whole Job thing. And if you look at Job as being the archetype of you and I, you know, um, he faced some hellified. He really did.
Yeah.
Not only did he get everything taken away from him, but then he got sick. He had boils.
Yeah.
So it couldn't have gotten any worse. And I think that's what the story tries to drive home. It can't get any worse. I still won't leave you. There's no way. And sometimes when you're in the midst of that particular problem, you can't see it. And even your friends, it takes someone that's able to understand that stop thinking you, are way more important than you really are. Practice some humility.
Yeah.
God isn't trying to hurt you. And if you
Right.
can quiet your fears down, you can see the road out of this thing. Now you could put the yellow brick road right there. You can see Toto and what's her name from the Wizard of Oz, Dorothy, being able to face every one of their fears, and that's how they got out.
That is so true. Facing your fears. And that is the part that the message also is that Job just leaned into what was happening in his life. And so sometimes we try to resist the hard times, the hard
Right,
emotions that we
right,
have to face, the
right.
fears, the doubt, the shame. And we try to resist. I know I have. I don't like feeling bad. I don't want to feel doubtful. I don't want to feel ashamed. And so but when you embrace it, when you don't resist it, should I say,
Hmm.
and just allow the emotions to be what they are, allow the experience to be what it is, allow the fear to come through. It's okay to be afraid.
Hmm.
So fear doesn't have to consume you, but just allow that experience to be what it is. And that's what I'm learning to do. It helps me to trust myself a little bit more. That is the next journal question is, do you trust yourself more now than you did before? Why or why not? And I invite the listeners and
Hmm.
viewers to
Hmm.
leave a comment
Yeah,
about that. Do you trust yourself
absolutely.
now more than you did before? Because I do. I trust myself now more than I do before because my awareness has expanded and I know the truth.
Absolutely. And I owe that truth, Deb, to that 30-year-old girl who, for 365 days, powered through, got up, believed enough to show up for her life. I owe her. I owe her a big
Mm.
old thank you. I owe her the heart, the healthiest hug ever, and say that thank you because we made it through those 365 days. Now I'm 20 plus years. Absolutely.
We made it.
We
Yes, thank
made
you. I
it.
wanted to cheer us on. I wanted to cheer for
Absolutely.
us.
I love that cheering on because we made it. And so that's one of the parts of that story that we should embrace. That story definitely helps us to have a different picture of our journey, our soul's journey. Our soul is
Mhm.
set up to win. Through anything, our soul is set up to win.
I love that.
Our,
Thank you.
our
Our soul
soul
is
is
set
set up
up to
to
win.
win. It has to be because God codified himself in his experience. So, like, okay, if you take a jug to the ocean and you take some water out the ocean and you take it home, now the jug isn't the ocean, but the jug contains the ocean water. You know, you know that whole
Hmm.
you are the power of God. You are, and once you start to see yourself as Him, you understand that my soul is set up to win. And it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
You
Yeah,
can't show up as a victim anymore. You, like you said last week, you are not the victim. You are the victor.
right.
So,
Or,
yeah, I
or,
love
or if
that.
you come through as the victim, then you just have to keep learning as the victim. You're gonna get there.
Hmm.
There's no other way but there. This is a perfect system. And as hard as it is, it feels sometimes. And God knows it feels hard right now today. It does. There's a lot of things for a lot of people to be afraid of. But we get through this because our
We
souls are
do.
set up to win. Our souls are set up to win.
Well, I thank you so much for introducing us to Job from a different POV.
Yeah.
And I know that this had to be good for other people, whoever's listening.
Yeah.
What are you going to be talking about? Just give us a 60-second tease on what's going to be coming up next week.
Listen, now Job gets to the door, but now he has to open the door and go inward. You get to the
Hmm.
door, then you have to go inward. You have to open the door. It is all of the stuff that's on the road that you have to go through, the debris from the
Hmm.
catastrophic storm that has hit your life. And sometimes it's not debris because some people come to enlightenment by a very easy path.
Hmm.
Whatever your
Hmm.
path is, now you get to the door. And we start talking about
Hmm.
Job getting to the door and what he sees on the inside. And I want to know, like, what do you see on the inside next week?
Yes, and next week we're going to be live. I'm going to have it all together, or I'm going to be going back to my old platform. We're going to get it together. I'm pretty much enjoying spring, a Riverside here, but I don't know what that technical glitch was, but however,
Okay.
the show has to continue to go on. So I want to thank you so much. I love doing this series with you. I am so excited about all of the series that we will do together, all of the things that we will do together. I am appreciative of
I'm
that.
interested
So,
in your Job moment. So I can't
woo.
wait to unpack that.
Oh my
'Cause I
gosh,
know we
that
have
is
many.
we do, and I'll have to pick one. It would be definitely something that I have never exposed. My vulnerability through my
Isn't that what we're
experiences.
here
I
for?
haven't. This would be a first. Yeah, this would be a first. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're showing up authentically. That's what we're doing, and I like that.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again tonight for Beyond Belief. These are the conversations our souls have been waiting for, and I am so grateful that you're a part of it. So, thank you. Remember, Job was not cursed. He was called into something deeper, and maybe so are you. Until next time, stay curious, stay compassionate, and stay connected to your truth. We will see you next Sunday, same time, same place, and we're going to be live. Peace and love to you. Thank you, Devette.
Peace and love to you, my sister.
All right.
My God.